Hey everyone, it's Arcondis. Thanks for tuning in to another Outward video. And since everyone liked the two-hander guide so much, they've been requesting me to follow it up with a one-hander guide, and that's what I'm doing for everyone now. So I do want to thank you so much for the love, the support, and the comments and things like that. So this is for you. Thank you so much. So the first thing you want to go ahead and notice is we don't have as big of a selection as we did with the two-hander weapons, and because of that, I figured I'd go ahead and add the shield into this video as well. And not just that, but the main reason why I wanted to add the shield is because if you're a beginner and you want to go the one-hander route, you would want something in your offhand to really help you. And you can either have a lantern or a torch in the early stages of the game if you wanted, but those really won't benefit you. And if you guys like this video as well, I will follow it up again with an offhand video, so I'll do that as well for you. But in this video, I will add the shield just for the fact it'll help the beginners and maybe help other players really learn the combat and defend themselves from those two mercenaries at the beginning. I know at least every player that's watching this video has died to those mercenaries and has become a slave. So let's try to avoid that by putting something in your offhand, and let's put the shield in your offhand to start. And before we get started with the guide here, I just want to clear something up. When I say inflicts the confusion status, the confusion status basically will decrease their impact resistance by -25%. And when I say inflicts the pain status reduces their physical resistance by -25%. So I just wanted to clear that up before we get started. So as we go into the shield, one thing to note before we get started, there are trainers in Cierzo, so the first town that you start off in, and they're going to go ahead and be able to train you in 2 key skills for the shield that you can start off with. And the cool thing about these trainers in the game is that you can still learn a couple abilities before committing to the whole tree. So you can learn these 2 abilities without committing fully and spending one of your precious skill points. And those 2 skills are Steady Arm, which increases impact resistance by 15 while you are blocking, and then Shield Charge. So you rush forward to hit foes with your shield for high impact. You can hit the target twice and inflict the confusion status effect. So let's go and see what this looks like for the shield. So the shield charge, as you see, first hit right there, second. So you charge forward, bashing them with your frontal assault and then swinging. So you do 2 hits, and both of those hits affect their stability bar, which can lead into a bunch of knockdown combos. And the second thing I want to note with the shield is when you block, of course, you go into this phalanx, this short moving or slow moving walk, of course. Lowers your speed, but of course you are defending yourself. And the second thing I want to note about the shield is that if you are blocking, as you've noticed, and let me go and show it into the water so you can see it clearly, your stamina isn't recharging. So if you're blocking, your stamina won't recharge, so you want to keep note of that as well. And then another thing that I'll show in the combat for the shield is once you are taking hits with the shield, you do lose stamina. So you want to make sure you're watching your stamina when you are defending yourself, and to make sure, you know, you're going to be able to attack once you've defended yourself with stamina. So those are the couple things to note with the shield. So let's take a look at a little bit of how it looks like in combat. Okay, now let's go and take a look at the one-handed sword, and we'll do the combos. And so we're going to do, of course, let's go over it again. We'll do light, then 2 lights, then 3 lights, a light and a heavy, and then 2 lights and a heavy, and then heavy attack. And just to make it clear for everyone, I do play in mouse and keyboard, so left click is the light attack, and then middle mouse button is the right attack. I do apologize, I'm not sure how it works with the PS4 controller or the controllers. If someone knows, please note it in the comments below to help everyone out, so I appreciate it. So we'll start off with the sword here. 3 lights, a light and a heavy, 2 lights and a heavy. So again, what I've noticed at first is the slashes do move you forward. So it's a nice gap closing frontal assault with a one-handed sword. And then with the light heavy, like the great sword, it puts you into a different position. So with the light heavy, you do a leftward slash, and then the 2 lights and a heavy, rightward slash. So, and it faces you forward. So once you finish that combo, you can shield up. So I feel like that's pretty cool as well. It's kind of like the great sword where it puts you in a different position. So depending on where your enemies are, you want to put yourself in that advantageous position with either light heavy to the left, 2 lights and a heavy to the right. So I feel like that's pretty cool as well. And then of course you can shield up right afterwards. But of course watch your stamina. And then the skill for the one-handed sword is called Puncture. So close combat attack, which deals high damage and impact and inflicts pain. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Cool little stab, moves you forward and then backs you off. So it's good if you want to go ahead and just reach in, hit the enemy, and then back up to a better position. And it does only have a 10-second cooldown. So if you're fighting multiple enemies, you can inflict this on multiple targets if you'd like. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and see what the one-handed sword looks like in combat. Alright, now let's see what the one-handed axe has to offer. So we'll go ahead and do the swings for this weapon. 3 lights. Light heavy. And then 2 lights and a heavy. Then heavy. Alright, so let's see here. The first thing I noticed, it's kind of like the great axe. The lights advance you forward a lot, so if you want to close the gap and just barrage your enemy with attacks, you can do that. Second thing I noticed is the light heavy. There's a cool frontal 2-slashed cleave. So if there's multiple enemies and you know they're not going to attack you or they're standing a little bit far away, you can go into this combo to hit them both. But note that it will put you on the right side, so make sure that if you do use this skill or this combo, you're going to be on the right side, so make sure that's a good position to be in when fighting the enemy. And then the heavy is a triple attack, kind of slower than the, I want to say the left click and then heavy. So light, excuse me, I keep saying left click, I apologize. So light, heavy, goes into a triple strike as well as just hitting the heavy on its own. But it looks like the heavy is a little slower. You probably will get a little bit more damage, but if you want a quicker attack and you want to hit him 3 times, go into light heavy. And then you can back out or shield. So that's a little bit of what the axe has to offer. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in combat. Actually, nope, almost forgot the skill. Almost forgot the skill for the one-handed axe. So the skill is called Talus Cleaver. So it's a low blow that reduces the target's mobility, inflicts pain, and cripple. So I went over pain, and cripple, of course, just means their movement speed is reduced. So this can be good if you're fighting multiple enemies. You want to cripple one of them, kite it out to put yourself in a one-on-one advantage with one of the other enemies. So that's really good to use. Or if you just want to run away, you can use this skill as well. And there's no shame in running. There's no shame in running in this game. I've done it plenty, so don't worry about that. It's on a 30-second cooldown, 10 stamina cost, so it's pretty quick, and it doesn't cost too much. So you can use that for any of those situations. But let's take a look at it in combat. And now last but not least, let's go into the one-handed mace. So let's take a look at the swings for the one-handed mace here. Then light heavy. And then heavy. So let's see here. As you've seen, of course, the mace a lot slower than the other two. However, of course, it's going to be balanced with the amount of impact that it does when you do attack. So let's see here. One thing I noticed for the mace is that it's light heavy. It's kind of the same as just doing 2 lights, but I think it slows you down a little bit more. So let's test this out. Yeah, so if you just do 2 lights, you can put up your shield faster. If you do a light heavy, probably get a little bit more impact and damage, but you are a little bit more open. So just something to keep in mind. The next thing is the light heavy, which is pretty cool. So if you know you want to get a couple attacks in and you know the enemy's going to attack, you can do light heavy to swing and then back you up a little bit so you can possibly dodge the attack and avoid it completely. And then the last thing with the one-handed mace is the heavy. And if I can be honest, I've been using this the most to start off a fight. So if you know the enemy's coming at you and you charge this up, once you hit him, it does an extremely high amount of impact damage and stability damage. So you can open up with a heavy if they're coming in on you and you want to get an attack in and time it right. And then for the skill, we have Mace Infusion. So you block an elemental attack, infusing your weapon with that element. So that's really good if you don't have any rags or any potions to buff your weapon. I can go over that in another video. But if you're fighting a mage, of course, as well, you can completely absorb the blow and use that element to your advantage. So that's pretty cool as well. So let's take a look at how it looks like in combat. Alright, and that's the combat for all of these different types of weapons. Now, of course, having the shield doesn't make you invincible. You are going to get hit. It's just the shield helps you, just absorb some of those blows that you know are coming. Then you can open them up after they attack to your own attacks. But if I were to rank these weapons for beginners, I would say start off with the one-handed sword. And I say that because like the great sword, it can put you in a better position, of course, so you can really control the battle a lot more with the one-handed sword. And the skill that you get inflicts pain, which reduces their physical resistance by negative 25%. So that's good to have as well. So if you're thinking of starting off with a one-hander, I would say the one-handed sword. And then I would go into the one-handed axe. It is a lot faster. It is a lot more aggro. The light heavy can do a frontal cleave, so you can hit multiple enemies as well. You just have to be careful with getting hit back. And last but not least, of course, is the one-handed mace. It's third because it is slower and it does take a little bit of getting used to. It can help with fighting mages for you to absorb the blow or absorb the magic and then use that magic against them. So that's really cool as well. And then the heavy, I feel like, is the best one-handed heavy swing in the game. But it does take a little bit of timing and knowledge to get used to. So once you learn the 2 weapons before this one, I say give Iron Mace a go. Or if you think you're badass enough, start with the Iron Mace and really use those heavier attacks. But in my personal opinion, I would have to go Mace first, and then sword, and then the one-handed axe. So that's my opinion. And always make sure to hold a shield if you are planning to go one-handers. I will be covering the offhand weapons in another video, so stay tuned for that. And again, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you again for so much support and all the love, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.